Check our streams.
All right, so it says it's sending data now to my YouTube channel. So if I check that, it should show them live.
Yeah, looks like we're live.
You guys plugged in on gas channels. Green Team Denver is on Insta, Facebook, and Luminary is on YouTube.
Nice.
We're streaming to everything we got. All right, boys. Turn this freaking music off.
All right, boys.
Somebody needs to turn their.
Sorry, that was me. Just making sure it was working.
John, can't take you anywhere, man.
Yeah. I'm like a child.
I mean,
Even you're
what are
still
we-
choppy on your mic over there, Papa.
What'd you say?
You still choppy on your mic.
Bullshit.
Am I choppy? Oh, hold on. I got another application.
Who's
Ooh,
ED?
There we go. Are you talking shit
Valentine.
over there?
Well,
I don't see
Sam.
this live on Instagram. Am I missing something?
let's see.
I see it on the Facebook.
I wonder if my
think it's on
mom's
Insta-
gonna watch again.
I don't think it's on Instagram. Though. I think it's on YouTube.
Your mom was watching?
I think your
Yeah.
mom went to bed like an hour ago.
Mm.
She's in Wisconsin, so it's only 9.
You want to see this on Instagram, is what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I usually share it on.
For what?
Oh, I send it to some of my family and friends.
He's wifey.
I'm gonna have to go get another corraler before we even start recording here.
You really are. You might as well do it now because I got to connect to Ronnie's Instagram account. I thought can you not log into Instagram?
I got
Sean?
booted. I don't know what happened there. I got kicked out.
Ay. Guys.
I don't know if somebody changed the login info or what. What happened there, but
You've ever received from a client. Share your experience.
Oh, what?
There's some audio there. Watch out.
All right, boys, talk amongst yourselves. I'm gonna sort out the Instagram issues.
So, Sean, I want to know why you decided not to go with the monthly subscription.
yeah. So I've been trying to put together my sales pitch in my head. You're asking me about the why I decided to stick with pay as you go on mowing versus monthly. So my biggest thing is, and it's something John Mar talks about a lot, is eliminating friction. And I think about it as eliminating friction in the sales process, trying to get people in the funnel. I think once they're in, they're gonna appreciate the way we work and the quality of the work that we put out there. They'll stick around. We haven't had really any issues with the mowing. Obviously, it costs a little bit more for the extra transaction costs. The extra 25-30 cents, whatever it is, for the credit card processing fees. But it's not like I'm chasing down money every year. I might lose. I think last year I lost $100 because somebody's credit card went up, and that's on me. It's going to be the same way whether I'm billing a monthly. I got to follow up on that credit card before we go out and hit their account, or whether I'm doing it every week and we miss one payment. I'm not worried about. It's when it drags on, it adds up for a couple of weeks that it becomes impactful. But last year we had one account that didn't pay us $30. That was it as far as mowing goes. Everything else we collected on, and so it's as far as the friction point. The friction was in the selling, trying to sell somebody on $136 dollar a month mow versus $34 a week mow. I like that. I like being able to pitch it as that weekly price, and then it kind of falls in line with a lot of the other prices that we're throwing out at people too. So like our fertilization, we did go monthly with that, trying to make it a more of a bite-size dollar amount to customers. So now by doing monthly charges on our fertilization, it puts that price right in line with the price that they're seeing for the weekly mowing. And so it's just a much easier transition in the conversation going from one service to the next and trying to pair those up. On the back end, we're billing them separately. It's, I got to set it up a little bit differently in our CRM. So I got to set up the weekly occurrences for the mowing and the monthly billing for the fertilization, and then set up each individual visit on the FERT. But I just found it from the people that I talked to early on, trying to pitch it as a monthly mowing service. It was the combination of increasing prices and then also going from a weekly number to a monthly number was a big shock. And so just trying to make that a more manageable sales pitch. I get it. If you guys are already set up for monthly, more power to you. If people are good with it and you've got that's core business. I was honestly nervous about, that's half of our business is weekly mowing. And if I burn a bridge with too many of those customers by giving them, even though it's, even if it was the same price, we didn't raise anything, it's kind of like a visual shock seeing that 3-digit number up there instead of a 2-digit number. It's a little harder to digest.
I guess my question to you would be, is it a shock to you or is it a shock to the customer? Are you because I would propose that potentially you're having a mental block with, having selling it,
Yeah.
And I totally get it because it's scary, like making those transitions. But I think, and maybe your long-term goal is a little bit different than ours, but last year I asked myself, where do we want to be? How do we want our billing to be set up? Do we want to be prepay monthly? And the answer was yes. And so then you have to bite the bullet at some point.
Yeah.
So why not sooner than later? Why not when you have 100 customers rather than 300?
That's a good point. I guess I certainly with your business model, I think it makes perfect sense doing the monthly, because you're all encompassing, right? So every service that they're getting is rolling into that price.
Sure.
So you can average that out and spread it across. Even when some of those services are going to be seasonal, you get those big spikes. You're kind of eliminating that, and just the whole pricing structure kind of evens out. And I think that is definitely a beneficial piece on when you're trying to sell a consistent price versus all these peaks and valleys. Where we are, I don't think, I could be wrong, but I don't think we're ever necessarily going to go that route where it's everybody is, we might have a package at some point where you can sign up and get everything. And we might price that differently. But when we are doing everything kind of a la carte, I just felt like it made a lot more sense on trying to just go from one service to the other, having a more consistent range.
Are you charging out, are you clicking, and I'm not familiar with Jobber, so are you clicking through and charging customers cards for each transaction then?
So when we leave a job site, our when we show up at a job site, we start our timer. When we end the job site, we end our timer and hit complete. It's all in the app. Our lawn care specialists are out in the field with the app on their phone, and when they complete a job, they mark it complete, and that automatically bills the customer. We keep the cards on, we've got everybody's card on file for all of our mowing customers. So when they hit that button, it automatically runs the card. I get an email telling me how much money was charged. The customer gets an invoice in their email box, and it's already taken care of.
Okay, cool. And that's awesome, because that's like you said, frictionless on your end as well. Yardbook doesn't have that feature as far as I'm aware. And so when we were pay as you go, I was spending every day charging cards, and it's like, dude, I'm just wasting time, and time's money.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, closing it
No,
out.
that's early on before I figured out how to looking for my pop filter here. Early on before I figured that out, yeah, I was spending way too much time running credit cards, trying to get everything processed. But now that we've got, we push all of our customers when they sign up with us before we come out for that first mow, they've got to have a card on file, and we just go ahead and mark it automatic billing. So as soon as we're done the job, boom, it's taken care of.
nice. Very cool.
There's a couple of them
Yeah.
that fall through the cracks every month. Something will get a little screwy, but we can run a quick report in Jobber, and one of the reports we can run shows every customer and whether or not they have a card on file and whether it's set up for automatic billing or not. So we can very quickly zero in on the issues and attack them one by one.
Headphones aside, I'll be right back.
All right, so here we go. Good evening, gentlemen. How's everybody doing?
Fantastic.
Good.
Yeah. Wednesday. I'm good, man. Thanks for asking. Wednesday. What is this? The first
8th.
Wednesday, February.
Second one.
Second.
Second Wednesday in February. Growing season's upon us. Everybody ready for it?
So ready.
Oh, yeah.
I hear you. I'm ready, man. We had a week of ice last week, like 4 days of ice, 2 inches of sleet. It just wouldn't quit. We get a break from it for like 1 day. Temperature goes back up to almost 70 degrees on like Saturday or Sunday. And then yesterday and today, I think we've probably had 3-4 inches of rain just nonstop. I'm like, man, when are we gonna be able to get out there and get back to work? It's crazy.
You guys will be cleaning up now.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because we're still gonna have to be cleaning up from when we had all the ice. So that took out a lot of branches, a lot of the
Sure.
the magnolia trees that we have around here. They just, there's branches everywhere. People were out when we had that warm day on Saturday or Sunday, whenever it was, and just the streets are just piled up with branches that fell. In fact, I had to go out and move my daughter's car because we were concerned that the branches wouldn't hold the weight of the ice, and it was going to fall on her car. Needless to say, if her car got destroyed, that would be the third car that she's had that would have been totaled in the last 12 months.
At least that one wouldn't have been on her.
Yeah, exactly. Melissa's
It
like,
would have literally been on the car, though.
uh-huh.
Doesn't make the bank account feel any better, but
Oh, I know. I was like, I'm moving that car. You better believe it. I'm moving that car. So, well, cool. Well, good evening, guys. Kind of talked about what I wanted to chat about tonight. We've been covering a lot of things. Definitely want to dig back into getting into some setups. We just aired our show. It was a really good show. It was hosted by William from Green Moco, Live Sust. That aired today, like 5 or 6 o'clock. Really good show, kind of recapping 2022, the pitfalls that we all faced as a collective in 2022, and what we're planning on changing in 2023, and how those things are going to impact us. So, kind of got me thinking whenever I was listening to the episode earlier this morning, and having not been out in the field and worked for probably a week and a half because we had the ice, we had the rain, and I started thinking about like all the stuff that's bothering me about my business, right? And of course, I think to myself, I'm like, well, wait a second. I'm not the only person that has problems. I don't have things that are bothering me. I know these guys have things that are bothering you guys. I want to hash that out tonight. I want to dig into it and learn from you. I'm not going to start because I feel like I got a lot bothering me right now. So if I start, it might take up the full hour. So we are going to start with one of you guys. We've all got a couple things top of mind. 1, 2, 3, top 3 things that are kind of bugging us right now about our business. If it's operations, if it's manpower, if it's lack of clients, if it's lack of marketing, whatever the case may be. Jamar, I want to ask you, tell me what's going on with your business, man. I mean, what are a few things that are top of mind that are just driving you nuts right now?
His mic being on mute, number one.
Number one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is my mic being mute. But that's easy for me. If I'm coming in too high, let me know.
You're good.
But that's easy for me because really, honestly, for me, it's overwhelmed right now. I have got 1,000,001 ideas, right? And I wanted to get them all done yesterday, right? And so my biggest challenge in my business is that analysis by paralysis, and then feeling like I have so much to do before the grass like turns into Hulk, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a big challenge, particularly when I have other big challenges. So that's the big overarching deal. But there's things like everybody knows that I am working my way out of the field. I also run my business. You know, I don't run it part-time because I'm still putting 60 hours a week on it, but I have a full-time business that I do 50 hours a week on, sometimes 75 hours a week. And so with that being said, learning to train other people to do the job as well as I can do it, or at least as well as the client is expecting, that's been a challenge, putting these kind of systems in place for my production crews, my guys that are getting out there doing it, can one, feel confident that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, right? Because one of the things I hate about any type of management or ownership is when they expect you to do something, but they don't tell you that's what they expect, right? They don't tell you how to keep score, right? They just expect you to read their mind. I got the same problem with my wife, right? Like she wanted, well, not anymore. We're fantastic. If you listen,
She doesn't listen to this, right?
Yeah, no, not at all.
You careful.
But there was a time in our marriage where she wanted me to read her mind, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know how to do that, right? So I don't want to be that type of owner. I don't want to be that type of manager, right? That type of teammate that expects something of other people without even communicating that to them. So it's trying to put all that in a simple way to where we can still deliver an extremely different and satisfying deliver a satisfying project or product to the customer every single time, but also being fair to my guys about what our expectations are. So
Yeah.
as you couple that with just all the decisions, the softwares that are coming out, the data that I need to pull, the marketing, just all the things of being an owner, right? Of a small organization that comes with it. So that's my biggest challenge.
Okay. So yeah. So if I kind of had to sum it up in one word, I would say just overwhelmed, right? Is it just everything that's just kind of everything you need to do is just overwhelming you?
Right.
And
Absolutely.
so I face the same issue. I deal with the same things too. And I fail, I guess you could say, by thinking or trying to think about everything all at once. And I have difficulty kind of compartmentalizing things and creating an order. So this is useful. I'm glad I asked this question. And I'm glad this came up because we got how many guys? We got 7 guys in here right now. And Jake, I want to ask your opinion on this. So with what Jamar had shared with us, what's kind of your feedback on that? And if anybody else wants to jump in, please feel free to do so. I want to turn it over to you, Jake. I want to get your opinion on this because I just having known you for the last year, you're a thinking man, you're a relaxed person. You can always tell that you just never really seem to be stressed out about anything. And that's why I immediately came to you and I was like, Jake, what do we do? What are your thoughts on this?
I appreciate that, man. Well, obviously the first thing I think is it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? Most businesses fail within the first 3 to 5 years. So I think giving ourselves that grace to just understand that it is a marathon is really huge. We don't want to burn ourselves out, especially Jamar, when you're working a full plus time job already on top of your full-time business. I mean, that's a feat in itself. But then the other thing, this is kind of really cool timing because last week my dad was in town helping me work on my basement, and he shared a podcast with me. It was a Pat Miller podcast. And they were talking about this exact thing. And they brought this lady on that said her whole company deals with other businesses that are just in that overwhelmed stage. And what she focuses on making them do is prioritize them 1, 2, and 3. And you'll have to give me a little bit of grace here because I don't exactly remember the exact words verbatim, but number 1, those are the actions that you have to do today so that you don't go out of business. Okay. So list all the things that you have to do so your company won't go out of business that day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And do those things. Okay.
Okay.
So this may seem like oversimplifying, but that's the exact reason why it works, is because it simplifies. It makes you stop and realize, oh, okay, if I don't do my billing today, I'm not going to have any money to, pay for gas to go out and continue services tomorrow. And then obviously just prioritizing 2 and 3, so things like I need to do this week so that I need to schedule these services, these landscape jobs this week so that I can work on them next week, and 3, those might be more long-term things, and so just by kind of simplifying into these 3 priority levels, it just takes it out of your mind, puts it down on paper so that you're not just jostling it around in your mind, churning, and you can look at it and say, oh, okay, that's what I need to do. And then
It's a hell of a lot better than a to-do list too. People just make a to-do list and your to-do list has no stack ranking, or you make it and you're like, oh, 1, oh, 2, and you're just like, the to-do list just keeps getting longer and longer. Like when priority became a plural and it was priorities, it's like, okay, now how do you decide which one you're really going to do? It's like, I don't know that should be a plural word.
Yeah.
I literally have to-do list on my to-do list.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess with what you're saying, Jake, and I understand the philosophy. I get it, right? So you've got the 3 categories of your priorities, right? You've got urgent, right? Which are the things that absolutely need to be done today, right? Shit, I got to do today. That's the urgent category. Then you've got your important, which are your next things in line. And then your list of third things would be what? Your long-term goals. So my question for you is, if you're like me or like Jamar, and we have a list of 15 things that we, in our minds, we consider them to be either important or urgent. What is a strategy? This can be for you, Jake. It can be for anybody that wants to jump in here. What is the strategy for helping us determine which bucket to put these items in?
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
so-
Go ahead, Sean. Take it.
I kind of went through this process right at the beginning of this year. We have a little bit of downtime January and February, and this is kind of like our reset and get everything ready for the season. And so it's not really downtime. We're not out in the field. And so wanted to make this time as productive as possible and get us set up for a successful season in 23. But I was just, I'm looking at I've got these yellow pads. And I can't see them with my background; they're blending in. But I got these little yellow pads. I leave notes all over the place. They're all to-do lists and
You're a
all
Post-it note guy.
ideas. Yeah, and
Oh,
they're
God.
everywhere in my office. It's terrible.
There's a story about the Post-it note guy, right? So look that up. Yeah, I don't use Post-it notes. Go on. Sorry.
So they're not Post-it notes. They're like mini legal pads. I don't know what they're actually called, but same idea. They're
yeah.
tear them off, you stick them all over the place. But I got all these things that I wanted to get done in the off season to make sure we got a successful 2023 season, and I was just overwhelmed. I was like, all right, I've got to relaunch the website. I've got to buy new vehicles and equipment. We're building these mowers, and so it's just like, where do I even start? And so what I first did was I wrote down a list of all of the major projects, right? On a separate, I got this pad of paper. Every page got a different heading on it. And then underneath of each of those headings, I wrote down every step that we needed to do to complete that project, right? So we've got projects and tasks. And then I went back through, now that I've got everything listed out, right? I can like wrap my head around it at least now that it's on paper. And I actually did the exact same thing that Jake said, prioritizing them 1 through 3. One being the things that absolutely have to get done for us to continue as a business. 2 are the things that will help us be successful. And then 3 were the things that are going to help us get additional sales, right? We can survive without these things, but we really want them. And so it was really hard trying to decide what goes in each of those buckets, but just being absolutely diligent about, whether it was something that is going to crush your business today, whether it's something that is going to allow you to survive this upcoming year, or whether it's something that's going to allow you to just blow this upcoming year out of the water. And that's kind of how I broke it down. And, just kind of an example of each of those things. If we're looking to grow this year, if we don't have the vehicles for it, then we can't put the people out in the field where they need to go. If we don't have the mowers, we can't have the people out. They can be there, but they can't cut the grass. And so those types of things are number one priorities, right? We've got things like our relaunching our website. That was a huge important piece for us this year. It's going to help us grow a lot more business, bring a lot more customers in. But that was, as hard as it was to do, I had to move that to priority 2. And then from there, I wanted to get some new licenses this year so that we can expand into some other areas of business, right? I wanted a pesticide license. But we can still survive. We can make it through without that. So that had to unfortunately go to priority 3. And it's really been important as I focus on each of these tasks going through, help me dial in on when I start the day, looking at my lists now, what is the most important thing? What do I need to tackle first? And then what do I tackle if I get through everything else?
Yeah.
And one of the important lessons that I've learned with that, specifically with the pesticide license, is I'm trying to get that for me as the business owner. And when I sat down and wrote that list, that was the only way I was going to get that license in my head. But now I'm realizing if I hire the right person that's coming in with a pesticide license already, that knocks that right off the plate. I can still achieve that goal just by hiring the right person, which hiring the right people was also one of the things on my priority list. But
yeah. So, Will, what are your thoughts on this?
So I'd be curious. I kind of did this before, and I'd be wondering if you guys went back to rethink about that. Could you boil down each day to a OBT, to a one big thing? I had a plugin for a while on an old computer. I haven't reinstalled on this version of Chrome, but one of the podcasts I listened to, the guy actually made it. Every morning you put in the one big thing. Every time you open a new tab, that's what shows up, right? Like that's all the plugin does. But it gives you that if you get this done, the rest of the day is gravy. There's other things that have to get done, but I think that mental mindset shift of what's the one big thing I have to accomplish, that's kind of the kickstart to be able to get it done instead of the analysis paralysis. And I do it as well, right? We're overwhelmed of these are the 5 things I have to do, or these are the 7, or these are the 3. Where do I start? What do I do? And a lot of it, whether it's in business in general, whether it's getting these done, is just like starting, right? Putting your shingle out there, starting this business was incredible. The opportunities we had and kind of where we've ended up, not even a year at kind of getting things restarted. 2, just day to day, thinking of the OBT, the one big thing, and then going from there. That to me is probably the biggest thing. I'll say from one thing you mentioned, Jamar, just to go back to it as well about training other people, though, is it's so tempting when you're trying to teach someone, like, shoot, I do it with my 4-year-old kid. When you're trying to teach someone something and they're getting frustrated at it, the first or second time you'll be like, they'll figure it out. Or the third or fourth time you're just like, right, shoot, give it to me and I'll do it, right? Just give me the shovel, give me the remote, give me the controller, right? Trying to learn a game or whatever it is. It's just like resisting that temptation is just as tough, right? The whole teach them to fish, never have to do it again, or whatever the analogy is. Like, I get it, but it's still hard. And still to remember those things. So I think for me, from the overwhelm side, I would even go further. And Jake, I love kind of the prioritization overall. But in the day, I always just try to have a one big thing. Maybe it just makes me feel better that I can simplify it down, but it's definitely helped. And then in terms of training the team, that's a tough thing for us to resist. I'll say beyond that, I think it was Sean talking about equipment, right? For me, that's kind of the biggest stress, is the chicken and the egg, right? Have the team, the people will come, trusting that we're going to be able to fill out the cruise, knowing if we don't, we might have to support salary for a little bit as we start to do it to kind of keep the people we want and have them in, and right at what point, and threading that needle of the team. That's been a big challenge for us. Like yesterday, Katie, we have 2 of those 30-inch Greenworks mowers on order. We were going to expand, get another Transit Connect, follow what Steven was doing, put them in the back of a van. Just happened to see on the Greenworks owners Facebook group page, one of the guys over there is like, yeah, they'll be out soon. They got delayed. So screens got delayed on a ship in China. And I'm like, okay, April 1st is the start of mowing season. Am I going to have them? And they're like, it's tough to say.
Yeah.
When these things got ordered, it was a February time frame. And B, why am I finding out on Facebook by some guy saying, hey, when are we getting these 36-inch mowers? Not from my dealer, not from my Greenworks guy, not from someone else. So, right, part therapy session, part answer to the question, because you gave me the mic. It's like, what am I complaining about in the last 24 hours is, which the beautiful part, I think, of this business, or at least where we are right now, is, okay, that's fine. You just got to adapt, right? We might go, we hadn't tried it, but we might go get another Ryobi and try the Michael, switch the battery in it, right? We might go get an Ego. There's some residential folks that have bought them that will try Z6 and see how it goes and figure it out. So you got punched in the face, and within 24 hours, we kind of have 3 options of how we're going to respond. And now I need to pick one. Now I have a different thing I have to decide on than something that I thought was taken care of. But
Man, you don't got to decide. Toro all the way.
Oh, I talked to the rep today, man. We've got a set on order, but that still, what am I going to do? April or May? April/May.
Still gotta wait. Yeah, you still gotta wait.
April/May. So what am I going to do April to May? Right?
That's what Toro said.
Yeah, April/May.
Equip. They said this month.
So
my dealer. So that's, I mean,
Equip was months ago,
knowing
buddy.
that info.
Yeah.
Knowing that info,
Yeah,
Gerhard,
bro.
I talked to my distributor. Let me make sure that's exactly what I said. I talked to the dealer today because that was another option. I can't get this 30. I called my guy. Hey, we're going to try this out. Build me instead of using some of the batteries, and maybe I'll do the whole set as Toro and test it out. Give me everything. Outfit my crew with Toro batteries because they're all hot swappable.
Hmm.
And he said
I was doing
April/May.
research today. Yeah, I was doing research today, and I
Yeah.
found April as well.
Yep.
I was told mid-April, the 30-inch that we ordered mid-April.
Yep.
They said 3 weeks initially, and then girl called me the other day and said mid-April. Could be May.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Listen,
I'm not counting on it.
I don't
That's
have
the thing. I won't
anything
count on it
green
either, right?
works
I'll get some 22s or put some of the spares that we have into service for 2 months, whatever, right? And you offload them
Mhm.
on Marketplace if you have to, and just do it something like it doesn't have to be perfect right away. And I think that's another problem is, Jamar, you actually might have mentioned this on whether it was in the Discord or not. It's like until you're at 500, 1,000 homes, like I'm not worried about optimal efficiency at 5,000 homes.
Yeah, it's
Right.
almost an afterthought.
Right. Look at what's the famous Airbnb story, right? They went on Craigslist. They messaged the people and said, "Hey, I love to book this place, but are you on Airbnb?" And it was them messaging themselves to get more people to go over and do it. Like you got to kickstart the engine somehow. You got to
Mhm.
just find a way to fake it. Not even fake it, but find a way to get through the situation that's presented to you.
Mhm.
That's all we got to do.
The
Yeah.
beautiful thing about us being small, and this is I tell people all the time, is like the advantage that we have is we can do the things that are not scalable now.
Yep. Yep.
Right. That's how you get the advantage. Is
Yeah.
do the things that are not scalable. When somebody becomes a new customer, don't worry about automation. You send an email, you send
Yeah.
a quick video, you send a quick thank you.
Yeah.
Right. Don't wait for no, I got to set up an automation for, now if you forget like I do,
Yeah.
and you know what I mean?
think- yeah, we all do.
Yeah. If you forget, right, then that's, sets up your automation. But even the automation to remind you to
Right.
send them a thank you, right? Do those little things that are not scalable now.
Do the simple
get to the
automations
point.
you can to kickstart what you need to do to get
Right.
through.
Yeah. So I want to come back to that. I think that's really important. And Gerhard, I'm going to let you kind of stew on what's bothering your business while I ask Jamar this question. And it's a brutally honest question because those are the kind of things that consume you, right? And you kind of have a hard time, or I do have a hard time determining, is me building out an automation today the most important thing for me to do for my business today, right? That prioritization thing. Do you run through that same thing too, where it's like it's almost like you can trick your mind into believing what is the most important thing? I don't know if anybody else falls victim to this. I do it all the time. I'm like, oh, wait a second. That is the most important thing. And I convince myself that something that is just important, I've convinced myself that that is an urgent thing. When in fact, if from anybody else's perspective, it's not urgent. So
Is it bringing in revenue or is it reducing cost? If it's not doing one of those two things, it's not important. It's
Well,
probably
okay.
necessary at some point, but
sure. Great
Right?
question. Great
But,
question.
you know,
My
it's-
answer to you is it bringing in revenue? Absolutely. But there's a timeline on that. When is it bringing revenue in? Okay. So what I'm doing now is going to affect my business. It's going to bring revenue in for our company. So it's not a waste of time, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of not my point. My point is we've got this big list of to-dos in front of us, and what I assume or what I have created in my own mind to be the priority for me, if you guys were running our business, EcoMo, I can promise you your priorities would be different than mine. So that is kind of the reason for this roundtable discussion, and that is to open my mind for helping me to prioritize, what's the most important thing we need to be doing for our business right now. Jamar has been very candid with his thoughts, just being completely overwhelmed. I understand where you're coming from. I want to get another perspective on this. Gerhard, you were given some time to think about what's bothering your business and what's bothering you about your business. What's in your head right now? and give us some insight.
So what's going on in my head is bringing in quality leads for hiring, and just making sure that I have the recurring work to cover those hours. I mean, last year we did a good amount of project work, and I don't want to really build a position, an employable position based on project work. I want that to be based on recurring work, whether that's mowing or landscaping or lawn fertilization, which starting to dabble into this year. But I was just talking to my business mentor last night, and he was telling me, he was asking, talking about the hiring. He's like, from when I first mentioned it, we were kind of talking about relieving the mowing from me, so I could focus more on the landscaping, because that's kind of my personal focus. Literally just listening to the podcast released today, talking about how last year we put over 600 natives in the ground, and this year I want to do 1,200. That's a big goal, but like that's a big personal, like I love that. I love those planting jobs and planting natives and restoring ecology. But mowing lawns at the same time takes away a lot of time of that, but it's also more so a recurring, it's an employable position, a dependable employable position.
The mowing lawns part or the
Yes,
installing the native plants part?
The mowing lawns, because it's
Okay.
a recurring work, secured work. Whereas the project based, the plantings, that's here there. I mean, you could book out, you could market that big time and book out for weeks on end, but then you're getting weighed down by doing that and mowing at the same time. So my mentor was like, kind of, you should hire someone to just take care of your lawns. And that's still something I'm kicking around, but hiring a good, finding a good hire, and just getting that work fully secured for them. That's what's been on my mind for a few weeks, and Sandy and I have been talking about that for quite a while now.
Yeah. So if I'm understanding you correctly, what you love to spend your time doing is installing the native plants.
Yep,
That's what you
native
enjoy
pollinator
doing the
gardens,
most. Okay.
planting trees. Yep.
But, or I should say, and what pays the bills and what puts food on the table is 90% of the time that's going to be the mowing. Right.
Recurring work,
And the
between
recurring
mowing,
work, maintenance work.
right, maintenance in general. Yeah.
Okay.
I think. Are you saying you need to build up more of a portfolio on the maintenance side to ensure that there's enough work there to employ an individual?
Right.
Is that
And that I can kind of step away from being so heavily into that, myself. So kind of like a 2 divisions type thing. But so I could focus more on the planting, the projects, the taking out the invasives, replacing them with natives, and just working on the spaces of the people, of my clients. Just working on improving their living situations. Really, I mean, just last week I was out. I mean, I took out so many invasives and non-natives, and we're already planting. Put in 5 shrubs in the front there, replaced I couldn't even tell you the number of Japanese boxwoods, because they just go crazy. I mean, there was probably 5 or 6 planted originally. I probably took out about 10 or 12. Sandy and both Sean had the fortunate time of talking to me while I'm grunting, chopping through all these roots and digging out these stumps. But I mean, it's hard work, but I actually love doing that. And then I went in there and planted 5 fragrant sumacs, low grow sumacs, and those are native, and the conditions are just right. They'll wake right up in their spot, and those roots will just boom go right into the ground, and they'll be established.
Yep.
So I mean, that's what I love.
So one of the things that I did my first year to be able to hire a couple of guys, my first year in business, I was still working full time, and I needed to have employees that I could count on that were full time employees, but I also needed to have enough work for them to have stuff to do and me to be able to pay them. And that transition for those first couple hires is really tricky. I'm not saying necessarily that the way I went about it was the right way, but it did help us survive and get through. I found a couple large accounts for recurring business. I didn't price them right. I totally effed it up, and they were not profitable necessarily for us, but they kept me. They allowed me to employ those guys full time without losing my shirt. It was kind of like bridge accounts in a way. We've since moved on from those accounts and those customers. We weren't the right long-term fit for it, but we were able to do good work. We were able to get, pictures and videos for our portfolio, and we were able to give the customers good results while we were able to do it. And it allowed me to afford to keep those guys on full time.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a discounted service on a handful of a small couple accounts. So it's not like a wide ranging, long impacting thing that I have to wind myself out of.
Yeah. And then
You just gotta
Gerhard,
use that in Springboard.
Yeah, I'll also say, like, don't poo-poo on the projects right now. Get your manpower, right? Get your manpower and pay for them however you need to pay for them. Load up them budget hours during that spring rush. That the reoccurring stuff is gonna come, right? But if you try to wait for reoccurring services to build up big enough before you bring somebody on, you'll be real slow. You won't have a spring rush. You have a spring drip.
yeah.
Right? Like you go ahead and get those big dollar projects. You need somebody on those anyway. Right?
That's right.
Get those, and then you need somebody. Those are the ones you need help on.
Yeah, yeah.
And so utilize the profits that you get from that to give you that confidence to bring somebody on, because you get a couple of projects a month, you could pay for somebody's full payroll for the whole month, and now you're feeling real confident, right? Now you're really moving. So don't poo-poo too much on the one-time projects. The reoccurring stuff will build, like we talk about all the time. Give people the options and to make your reoccurring customers even more profitable. But go ahead and take those cleanups, take those installs, take as many as possible during the spring, and then focus on that reoccurring stuff as as the year rolls forward until fall
That's a
comes
great
around
point.
again.
Or maybe even converting.
I think you, convert.
I was just going to say
those.
convert those jobs into reoccurring. If someone reaches out to you for an install for natives or whatever
I
the case
do
is,
that. Yeah.
convert them to a client. Make it worth their while, and you've banged out a nice job for them. You did a great job, and start to sell them. One of the most important things that we do as business owners is that we are a marketing company first. We collect data. That is the most valuable piece of things that we own outside of equipment and things like that, is the data that we have and the data we collect, because we can sell to it as many times as we'd like. I know it sounds terrible, but it's the truth. It's super powerful.
It is.
Capitalism. It's
Exactly.
It's America.
America.
Well, and it's not only capitalism, but it's also, we're solving people's problems. You know what I mean? And it's a win-win, because we're getting paid and we're solving people's problems, and we're a company that people trust. We've built that trust. We've gone into people's homes, gone onto their property, done quality work for them. So, it doesn't just have to be a dirty C word. You know.
Yeah, better
Yeah.
said. Yeah, definitely better placed.
Good point. So Jake, what's bothering you with your company right now?
Ooh, thank you so much.
He's ready for this.
Yeah, I am. So
He's got to scroll.
it's just perfect timing right now. And sorry, the old wifey just got home.
Dude, how old is she?
This is
I'm
real,
good.
folks.
All
Live.
right, sorry.
Please tell me you're
Sorry.
talking about the dog.
Anyway, guys, so it's perfect timing to ask this question because my biggest pain point right now, what's bothering me in my business is not having that year-round income. I know you guys down in Texas, you guys are working year-round. You guys down in Florida, for the most part, are working year-round. But over here in Denver, especially this year, we haven't really done any significant work since the middle of December. We've basically been snow covered and below 32 degrees since then. And so, we do what we can to save throughout the season and keep those salaries and stuff going, for me into the winter and everything. But the cash flow drops significantly. So, I've got a few ideas, but I'd love to hear what you guys have for thoughts of how I can just keep that income up, whether it's restructuring how I bill or,
I think we need to talk to Michael. Get him on here.
well,
Yeah.
honestly, yeah.
Well, I think you led with a great point. I mean, looking at the way you've got your billing structured may be a great solution for you. What else is on your list?
As far as pain points.
Now, as far as things
Oh,
that you can do
solution.
to render the lack of payroll in the wintertime.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in our Discord chat there, Michael shared, or actually, Steven, you shared Michael's Instagram post about he charges $15 per month for gutter cleaning. And they typically do about 2 gutter cleanings per year. And that kind of just got my wheels turning because, Michael commented, yeah, get your one-off gutter cleaning people on a gutter cleaning service program.
Yeah.
And, I've always struggled with, I know those people want that recurring service. And a lot of them remember, to call us and whatnot. But I think we could do better, and by just getting them on a monthly payment program, it's just automatic. And
To make it easy for them to say yes. We have to do it's not even the hard work, but it's a little bit of the work to make it easy for them to say, of course, or yeah, sure. It's almost like go even further to say, yeah, no shit. Why wouldn't I want to do that? Right. It's like, if you can get them to that point, even with the options like you do, Jamar, or whatever we're doing, it's like either you get them to sell themselves when they're presented those options and they can decide without us in their ear where they want to be. 9 times out of 10, they will probably have a higher ticket than they would have if we were sitting there next to them or trying to explain it to them. And then number 2, if you make it right, dead AF simple, you just kind of make it easy for them to feel silly not saying yes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I signed up for our Brothers Plumbing, Heating, and Electric because they're like $24 a month, and we'll come out and do annual inspections on all of these things, and you don't even have to think about it. I was like, well, yeah, sure, $24 a month. Why wouldn't I?
Right.
Yeah.
So
I also think too, to your point, Jake, is that we get into a habit of being afraid or thinking, it was like, wow, would anyone really pay X amount of dollars for the service? I mean, I know I wouldn't, right? So I think sometimes we put ourselves in a situation where we're afraid to spend people's money when they may be looking at it from a different perspective. So $15 a month in the gutter cleaning example may be nothing to them. So not being afraid of pulling yourself away from that, and just don't be afraid to spend their money. You don't know what their perspective is on that. Just because you may think it's expensive or inexpensive, it may be a whole different situation for them.
That's
Yeah,
peace of mind.
totally agree. I think I've finally overcome that, Sandy, within the last year or so.
Yeah.
It's a good feeling,
I
right?
still do it sometimes. I'm not gonna lie. So
Mhm.
I just try
Yeah.
to remind myself.
Yeah.
So
It gets
my
easier and
How have
easier.
you wait to go back to that real quick? How have you overcome that? Because I feel like as I'm hearing that it's two ways. It's either as yourself kind of being able to figure that out and convince yourself of that, or it's having a set or a target customers, right? It's Miss Sally that you can always call upon that you can kind of like test the ideas with. That'll be real. But I feel like if you have that same person, you don't want them to be like your yes person. So maybe not leading the witness, but like how have you what do you think has helped you become more comfortable with kind of not selling against yourself? Putting that in front of customers or just kind of feeling like you put big boy pants on and
A,
just
a
kind of got
little
it? Like
a little bit of all of that, I think. A little bit of trial and error and just realizing that, 90% of the customers aren't even flinching at the prices that I'm putting out there.
yeah.
well,
And
then you're not
then
charging enough.
right. You know what I mean? And then just also just having that target customer where, they look at the value that they're getting, not the price that they're paying necessarily. So that's been kind of cool. Yeah, so I would say a
Makes
little bit of all of that. I've got a
So-
question for you guys, just as far as the recurring, kind of taking the same concept of $15 a month for gutter cleaning. I was thinking that I could also translate that into like our mulch service for, some of our one-off customers. Are there any other services that you guys provide or that you guys can think of where this would be kind of a good billing model?
That's
Cleanups.
immediately where my head went to whenever you said that you were looking for something to kind of bridge the gap in the wintertime. That was going to be my question for you, and that is, I would look at what service lines you currently have, what you are offering, and see if there's additional services that you potentially could be offering um, during the wintertime in Denver. I would assume it could be snow removal or whatever the case may be. And I'm going to frame this up for you by sharing just a brief little story. We were in a bind in the summertime, and I brought a bunch of guys on board. We had a really big crew, and we had this lull. We had like 3 weeks where um, we didn't have a lot of money. And I said, well, I should do mosquito fogging, right? I had to create money kind of out of nowhere, right? I had to make payroll. So I was like, well, I guess we're just going to do mosquito fogging. And lo and behold, did a little bit of research and got a couple of backpack foggers for doing mosquito fogging, those cold foggers, electric foggers, and some mosquito concentrate. And we did a promo on it, an email campaign, and we put it on our website, and we pushed out a couple social posts and whatever. And it absolutely just took off. And it turned into being a gold mine for us. And we weren't compelled to do it for the reason because we wanted to. It was basically a service line that we created out of desperation, or that we adopted out of desperation to make payroll happen. And then once we got into it, we're like, oh my God, this is a great revenue source. I mean, we did like almost $30,000 in, top line revenue for mosquito fogging, and the margins on them are absolutely spectacular because the mosquito fogging services, we got people on contracts. So to kind of tie this back into what you were saying and what Michael Reed was saying from Quiet Lawn with their gutter cleaning packages, we were bundling these mosquito fogging packages with people's regular monthly maintenance, along with their mulching and their weeding and all that shrub cleanups, etc. But it was one additional service line that we were able to introduce out of the sheer fact of desperation that has now turned into almost a staple in our business, because we're the only people in Dallas that are offering the service that is 100% all natural solution for mosquito fogging. All the other companies are kind of claiming they got this organic whatever, but they're putting pyrethrins and bifenthrins in their solution to get rid of mosquitoes, etc. And all these people heard about us within this very short period of time. So with that being said, are there additional things that you could be doing during the winter time to alleviate 3 months of downtime?
Yeah, I think there are, it's just historically I've been afraid of them. And the one that I'm thinking is snow shoveling. But I guess as I go forward, and especially as we move into, having more of a traditional employee, going forward, I'm looking to not be in the field as much. So if it's my guys in the field doing the snow shoveling at 3 a.m., I'm a little more okay with it if it's not me. Not to mention that if we did do something like snow shoveling in the winter, that would kind of get me as a business owner off the hook from paying unemployment. Because and I don't know if you guys are familiar, but if you lay somebody off at in December, they can claim unemployment, and I forget what the percentage is. I think it's like we're responsible for 30% of that unemployment that gets paid out, and so that's a pretty big bill at the end of it. So yeah, I think snow shoveling for sure.
I got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So when you start your lawns back in the springtime, are you showing up and there's branches all over the lawns? There's just stuff that you have to move off the lawns first before you do that first cut?
Not really, not much. So we do a big fall cleanup, and then we typically
You don't have stuff fall in the wintertime? Because I did. I mean, I just literally yesterday did a property cleanup, and they've got massive trees, and everything was cleaned up from the last time I was there last year. And part of this cleanup, when I went to the consultation, it was like, well, you've got branches all over the place. And me, in my mind, when I come back for the first cut in this year, I don't want to be moving those branches. So like, that's a part of this cleanup. And that's something I'm going to be offering with our recurring garden maintenance, which is spring, summer, fall. And we're going to put that winter on there as well, because you know what, there are things that need to be done in the winter. And a big part of that is the cold weather just breaking branches, like Steven said, with the ice. I mean, that's an easy one over here in PA.
For sure. I think we're a little bit different over here. We have some trees, but we're technically like semi-arid desert out here in Denver. So the trees that we do have are a little more tame than the ones up in Conshohocken.
Have you ever thought about window cleaning at all?
It's another good one.
That's a good one.
That's a Keith Kalfas.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's get Keith on here.
For real.
Keith Kalfas.
Yeah, but no,
Knows all
window
about it.
cleaning. Yeah, window cleaning. You could charge for that. And you could do that during the winter too. So something to think about. And it's low. I don't think it's as expensive to get into. So
no,
low cost
not at
entry
all.
if you got the right tools. You just have to make sure you set yourself up for success. So
Especially if
something
you're
we
already
can-
cleaning gutters, you're already up there.
Well,
Good point,
you already have the client base to sell to. Is my point.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No,
Jamar, what are your
100%
thoughts?
Yep.
Good point, Sandy.
Yeah, that's solid, Sandy. There's a coach group I'm in. There's a lot of guys that are window cleaners there too. Now they do kind of slow down during the winter, but they're in the same boat. But a couple of things I thought about was, if you're just looking for cash flow, like you said, with your monthly deal, one of the things that I would probably try is see if some of your clients would like to pay 12 months as opposed to 9 months, right? That's one option. And what that'll do for them also is feel like they're getting a better price for your services. They won't be, but they feel like it. And really, perception is reality, right? And honestly, that's the only reason I went to monthly billing, because it feels like they're getting a good deal, right? And so everybody's used to paying on a subscription basis, and everybody's used to paying things in payments, right? They just feel like it's normal. I can wrap my head around it. The other thing is, things like I don't know how heavy the snow gets up there, but like landscape lighting, I've talked to quite a few guys that are doing landscape lighting. It's super easy. It's just as easy as like Christmas lights, but you're not getting up on a roof, right? And nobody knows how nice landscape lighting is until you light up their landscape, right? It's like the ultimate upsell.
Yeah.
And so I'm hearing a lot of guys rush to that in their slow periods. And some of them are actually, I talked to one guy, he's just leaving everything else. And he's just doing landscape lighting, right? Because the margins are there. And he's like, this is what I'm doing now. I'm not dealing with anything else. We're just going to do the lighting. Right. Yeah. Another thing is, it's kind of out of our norm, but like, kind of like the window cleaning, but like a garage organization. I know a guy that's doing that.
Especially with those
indoor
QR
painting.
codes. The thing I sent you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. If you can set up something like that, garage organization, indoor painting, there's so much that we can do when you already have a customer base. These gutter cleaning guys even upsell people to, not only do they clean like the leaves and stuff out of the gutters, they do they'll upsell like a gutter whitening.
Yeah.
Right.
Or installations.
Yeah. And they'll bleach the gutter so it has a little extra sheen and shine on it. You know, so they'll do a $300 gutter clean and add, gutter sheen or gutter whitening for another $129 or whatever.
Whoa.
Like, yeah. And so, which is some bleach water or whatnot, right? It's just, there's all kinds of things that we can do to increase the value, because just like Sandy said, like our most valuable thing is that data, is that client, right? We're in the business of getting customers, right? And once you have customers, people who trust their credit cards with you, right? Because once they've bought from you and they didn't die, right? They want to buy from you over and over and over again, because they don't know if they could buy from that guy and going to die, right?
Yeah,
They know they're not going to die
To
from
Jake's
you.
point, is they've already put that trust in you. So
Right.
it's like at that point you're more, as long as you're not a shitty person, you're giving them the right recommendations. So they trust you to provide them with that information. So bring it to them, Jake. Add that list up. I'll start offering services, baby.
See what
I
they
just-
want.
you could-
See,
I just
ask
thought
your
of one other
customers.
too. Yeah, we
Yeah.
actually
Now he's
just
thinking
this
on his
morning-
own here. What do you got?
Well, just this morning, actually, we've got one of our customers was moving, and so we filled up our dump trailer and hauled it off to the dump for them.
Dump
we could
runs,
do-
man.
Yeah, junk hauling, man.
Clean outs.
That's
Yeah.
good. That's good money. I mean, there's
This-
people
by the
that
end of
do
this
that
week-
for a living.
Yeah, by the end of this week, you should have your decal guy print out some huge "Rent Me" sign and just slap it on the dump trailer.
Yeah,
Get
and
yourself
put
a little
junk
business right
and
there.
put junk hauling on your website too. I mean,
Yep.
just in addition to that, I mean, not only junk hauling, but materials, moving materials. So
Right.
getting contract. I mean, there's all kinds of guys in Dallas that do it. So, we've got 5 or 6 different hardscape, rock quarries. And there are guys that are doing the dump runs. And when they're not doing that, they're doing materials deliveries for landscaping companies. And they're going to these places, they're picking up the materials and they're dropping the materials off on the job site for these people. And they're booked out. So,
One of our
They're busy.
landscapers does that. He advertises in his business and says, right, we want to do it on yourself and just need us to help you get it there. Like, we've got great distributors to supply mulch and everything else, and just use it as a way to help them out. Some people want to do some things, and maybe that'll be a customer 2 years from now. But if they got the time to fill their team's time, right, is obviously based upon your availability. You don't have to say yes, but at least gets people asking them.
yeah, we'll have to add junk hauling and materials delivery, because you have a dump trailer already.
Yeah.
And I mean, put that thing to work. I mean, Sandy's
Right.
got window cleaning for you. Jamar's got a laundry list of things we could all be doing.
I got a
Awesome.
quick random one for you guys, just to see if you guys have ever thought about this. So, you guys know how everybody likes to decorate their front porches for, like, say, Easter or
Oh yeah,
Halloween.
it's big business
that.
here in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys ever thought about, like, offering or like partnering with a company that maybe offers like porch decorating? to your customers?
Or like, you know, Halloween lawn decorations and stuff.
Yeah,
whatever.
just-
Seasonal decorating other than Christmas lights,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah,
right?
other than Christmas, that sounds like a good idea.
There was a Shark Tank
Mhm.
company, Ready Festive. They
Ready
just
Festive?
December of last year. A little different because it's inside the home, but
Okay.
very interesting, similar concept. It's a curated box.
Yeah.
They
Um,
scented
one-
candles, Easter bowl,
um,
whatever. But that
Well,
idea is
it's like
definitely
there's a company in when I was up in South Carolina. They're strictly landscaping, so they would do installs, perennials, annuals,
Yeah.
and they would gut stuff out. What they did for their off season is that they sold their clients um, certain packages of decorative plantings. So they would sell them an actual heavy duty concrete planter, and they would come every season and they would change it out with the pretty festive, colorful,
Oh yeah, that's
real
definitely
plants.
a thing.
So they that's something too that you can look into.
for sure.
And it's something that you can offer for every season, or holiday, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and kind of change those things out that way. So one thing to look at, and kind of keeps it in the realm of landscaping, right? There's another company out of Massachusetts does the same thing. They offer all the annuals. They'll come out and just decorate their porch or their back porch with mums and different certain things, different installations. But that's one way to keep it close to home, something that you're already familiar with. So
Also,
maybe
keeping it close to home. Don't forget winter pruning. That's definitely something. I mean, I don't
well,
know.
it sounds like he's already covering a lot of that when he does his cleanups. He just kind of
Well, no, like
bakes them into cleanups.
if you're, I mean, there's definitely like right now is
Certain
time
trees.
to prune certain things as
Mhm.
opposed to while they're in full dormancy, as opposed to going into dormancy.
Yeah, like fruit trees and stuff like that.
Dogwoods, roses, certain hydrangeas,
Mhm.
hollies. I think burning bushes, but I don't like them anyway. You can take them all the way down to the ground, please.
Cool,
But
cool.
there's definitely ways to make money, Jake.
Yeah.
Or at least services to offer. And I think Jamar made a great point. Why don't you just simply ask your clients? Send them a
Mhm.
quick email. Hey, would you be interested in these services? List a couple of them out, and or even to your family and friends that are local to you. Maybe there are things that they're having done by someone else. That's something you can get into as well,
Yeah.
or in your market.
Seems
Yeah,
like
and,
annualizing your billing might be the
Yeah, that sounds like
the best
an easier
solution,
approach. Yeah.
It's like my wife is my
yeah.
wife's a school teacher, so and they only teach 9 months out of the year, and she has a choice, right? She can either get a bigger paycheck for 9 months, or we can annualize it over 12 months. It's a little less money, but at least it's predictable income, and we know what her paycheck is going to be every month. So we
Mhm.
obviously opted for the latter and went for the 12-month payment cycle.
Mhm.
Some months it would obviously be great to have that additional, $500, $600, $700, whatever. Teachers don't make a lot of money, let's be honest. But when you annualize that payment, I think that's an immediate Band-Aid. Obviously
Yeah.
we're getting into the springtime, so it's almost go time for all of us. But obviously that's something I would do
Ano-
next year. And
Another
we're going to be
big
doing the
thing-
same thing. I mean, we're going to try and move everybody over to annualized as well. We've probably only got 25% of our clients are on annualized monthly payment plans.
Yeah, I was gonna say you
And-
mean monthly, right? Annualized, but monthly payments.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're making monthly payments, and it's consistent for 12 months out of the year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the way we're doing it.
Yeah,
Another-
we need to do more of it.
Another
Mhm.
big idea, now this is a big one, is you get into buying properties, like real estate properties that need some fixing up. And then not only do you have work for yourself, but you have work for your crew. And not only do you have work for your crew, but you're teaching them new skills.
Yep.
And then you have a big place, a big place to put your money, where your money is sitting, and then you rent it out, and then you're building your portfolio, and that's making you money, and then you have a team to take care of it. So not
Yep.
only did they help you fix it, but like oh, like the water heater broke, so like, okay, well, we're gonna send our guys out middle of the summer where there's a lull, and they're gonna go fix it. So like you have not only somewhere to build your wealth, but you have helping hands. I mean, you have workers literally you employ to help run services, and one of those services could be servicing your rental property that you bought and they help fix over the winter.
I promise you, it's one of the things that we're going to see from Gerhardt here. I'm kind of looking into the future here with my crystal ball. I'm quite certain when we have this conversation in 12 months time, he's going to be one track about his rental properties. He's headed that direction. I know it, guys.
They're going to be
Yeah.
fully
We're gonna-
sustainable too. You better
Yep.
watch out
Yeah.
off the grid.
Well, the
Give,
only
give
catch
it about
to that
24 to 48 months. The
see?
reality.
Problem is you got to have a bunch of money like Gerhardt has to get into that game.
Apparently,
the rest of us-
apparently.
No, no, no.
I was gonna say that's
No,
Steven kind of money. That's not my kind
Yeah,
of money.
Yeah,
right?
that's Steven kind of money. I mean,
no,
I'm
it's
dreaming
not.
about Steven money. I just know where to put it.
Yeah. Hard work, man. As long as you don't mind working 17 hours a day to get it, then you just go on ahead. It's all yours. It's there for the taking. Sean, wanted to circle back around to you. You sent a message in the private chat there. What's
Yeah.
going on in your head?
Well, yeah, I had a couple of things listed here as things that kind of bother me in the business, and most of them have already been covered. Jarmar was talking about time management. I think we covered that pretty well, and Jake was covered revenue over the winter. The last one that I had jotted down here was talking about culture, and one of the things that I'm implementing this year that is going to be helpful for our business from a monetary standpoint is one-man crews. But the piece that I'm conscious about on the side is that it's going to be difficult to manage and build a strong culture at the company when people are, out for 8-10 hours a day by themselves out in the field.
Yeah.
I've got a handful of ideas of things that I want to implement to help build that culture. I think starting with some strong principles, what the company stands for and what we're working towards, I think is going to help. We're going to be doing monthly meetings. We're really going over the numbers internally. Everybody can see how the company is performing, where we're succeeding, where we have opportunities, and come together. Everybody recognizes that their paycheck comes from this company, and so the more that we can do working together to strengthen it for the long haul, the better we all are. But just what other types of ideas do you guys have for ways to build culture in the company on kind of a either during the day when I'm not in direct contact with them, things that I can implement that they could be working on or doing on the side that help reinforce the culture. And then what other type of things can I do on kind of like a weekly basis to help drive that and steer it?
Jamar, I'll let you take that.
Yeah, man. First and foremost, we've kind of touched on this slightly here, but one of the big culture moves that we did was the pay for performance. But I think even more importantly than that is open book management. Now, this is not everybody's cup of tea, right? And I get it. I understand it, because one, it kind of forces you to know your numbers.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And some
That's
people,
I feel like it's going to keep me honest too. It's
yeah. And honestly, that's one of the reasons why I do it, because I'm a people pleaser, right? If you leave me to myself, I won't have to do anything. I tell my wife all the time, the only reason we have this house is because of her and these children, right? Like I would be in a van on a beach somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Like
We all
I don't
would.
I don't need anything, but I'm a people pleaser, and I understand, like, for my motivation is to show up for other people, right? And so if I'm going to tell my guys, look, what you're going to do when you come here, because we don't offer jobs, we offer opportunities, right? And so one of those opportunities you get is to learn business. And so we're going to have regular meetings, and we're going to have open book management. The other big benefit about open book management is you get buy-in from guys, or you can clearly see the guys who are not bought in, right? I can simply say, hey, look, this is what we're doing, guys, this week. Like, and this is what we got for next week. We looking a little light. And they'll be like, hey, do we have any more door hangers? I can go hang out some door hangers while, this weekend, so we can kind of, I'm like, okay, cool. Let's do that. That's a good idea, right? Or they'll come up with an idea. Say, one of the things we do at Miss So-and-so house, we always do it. And I don't know if she's really paying extra for that or not, but it takes a little extra time for us. I say, okay, good. So we're going to get an estimate out to her to pay for that, right? And so that open book management, and also incentivizing them to see other things on the property. And so out of the many selling points that I have for Peaceful Lawn and Garden is that we will not let something at your house like sit and rot and not tell you about it, right? We're not going to see this big giant brown patch or some insect infestation or tree branches hanging over your gutters or your gutters overflowing and not tell you.
Yeah, I'm just turning a blind eye to it.
Right. And so we incentivize the guys to look for those types of things. They can get extra bonuses. And
what's that look like? You give them like a percentage of new business?
No, we just give them like a little flat, 10 to $20.
So we do 10% on all the upsells. So if somebody comes with a gutter cleaning or they send a picture to us, of some gutters that are full of leaves, and they say, hey, we should call these people. They get a 10% cut on that. We do that on all the upsells, shrub cleanings, mosquito fogging. So if we're out there in the field and our guys are saying, hey, you got a lot of mosquitoes out here, you should sign up for a mosquito service. They refer that business. Whoever refers it's getting 10% off of it.
How do you handle that for something like that where it's recurring, right? So they sign up for mosquito fogging. It might be just the first.
Just give them the first time. That's too hard to track.
So it's $50 a month. They get $5 for the first.
Yeah. So think about what your customer acquisition cost is, right? If you're out advertising and your customer, say it's $50 a customer, $100 a customer, whatever the case may be. Well, I don't have any problem giving it to my guys, half of that or whole of that or all of it. If I'm out here spending $100 to get one, and then they just happen to be out there and they just kind of flirt with Miss Susie and she lines up. Well, I'll give them $100 if it costs me $100 to get a customer.
Yep.
Right. Okay. But I don't think about like the reoccurring part. That's to me is too much to track. Right. Because
that's kind of what I was nervous about. Is how am I going to manage this long term?
It's too much to track, and you want to keep them honest too. You don't want them to start bringing you stuff, right?
Keep it simple. $20. Like if you think about what these guys make in a day, right, and like an extra $20, what does that add to their hourly?
That's an extra hour. Yeah.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, what does that add to their? Saying that like a lot of times we as business owners we see such big numbers with the top because we're dealing with top line stuff that we're immune. Yeah, it's just the small that if somebody gets a check that's $750 this week as opposed to $700 to us, you're like, but to them, that's a big deal.
It is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
extra $50, man.
That's a good point.
Also,
$25 for bringing somebody, $20 even for reviews as well. So like every little thing you want them to do, incentivize.
Just like the government.
That's it.
But don't forget, you can incentivize them with like a gas gift card too. I mean, they're always going to need gas or something else like that. And then, it's a tax write-off.
Listen, the easiest thing is just find out what makes them happy and meet
them.
Well,
So
money is always the answer, right?
Well,
yeah. I was just talking to my accountant about this, literally for the employee. Should I would it be better to offer them a gift card for whatever? And, that could be a restaurant or, something that they would like to go to with their significant other. Or it could be a gas card, which is like, oh, they have to spend whatever less on gas a month.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Or cash. And he said, well, you should let them decide. Because it should be, if it's their reward, then they should decide what that reward is.
Yeah. So I think we all agree on that. Incentivizing in some form or fashion, be it money, gift cards, definitely a great strategy. I mean, we noticed it. I don't have any specific data in front of me. We tried the program out for kind of a bonus structure, and then we kind of fell off of it for a while because I had a few guys that just wanted to cut grass, and they weren't genuine. They weren't bought into it. Ultimately, they weren't bought into it. So, we kind of let it go, and then we brought it back again this last year. Like I said, I don't have any data in front of me, but I do know it was incredibly helpful, particularly for the shrub cleaning. I think that's kind of where my head goes immediately. I'm like, there's probably a dozen times at minimum, probably 24 times where the guys that are out there working would send a photo. They'd say, hey, these people need to get their shrubs cleaned up. That hadn't been done in 6 months or 9 months or 10 months, whatever. And we would send that picture to the client and say, hey, here's what's going on, and then we would get that business closed. So I think, to everybody's point, very, very good input. Sean, if that's not something you're doing, I really like what Jamar said. I think he kind of drove it home. Incentivizing your guys, Jamar's got an open book accounting system where they know how much money the company's making. They're kind of like a part of the company, right? So they're invested in the company. That's some really good stuff.
We do the pay for performance already. And we are, quote unquote, open book currently, but I think creating some more structure around that, forcing it to be a recurring presentation, showing them on at least a monthly basis where we stand, I think is gonna be an improvement.
Yeah,
but then I love the incentives that you guys are talking about. Just finding some ways to keep them engaged more than just going out and doing the job and coming home.
I will share with you that while it sounds somewhat insignificant in a way, that we're all everybody's going our own direction. We're all scattered, right? We've got the 2 maintenance crews, we got a landscaping crew, we've got me that's out selling most of the time, and or working whenever I can. And we're never all really together all at once, right? Everybody's coming in at different times, and they're dropping off the equipment, and they're downloading trailers, and they're grabbing batteries. And so what we try to do is once a month, we will have 2 hours. We'll spend 2 hours on a Monday or a Friday, depending on whichever day is kind of like the most, the best time to do it. But we will get together for a couple hours, pick up some breakfast tacos, and we'll sharpen lawnmower blades together and make sure we got all the gear ready, and do a head count on the ladders and the shovels, and we'll go through and we'll run through a list, and we'll just talk about things like what's broken, because we got like 20 shovels, right? And people breaking shovels all the time, and rakes, and just stuff like that. And we'll kind of collaboratively talk about the business together. And while it's costing us money as a business owner, right? So we're paying these guys, they're on the clock when they're in there doing it. So they're not P for P in this particular instance. They are getting paid to be there and just kind of hang out with each other and bond. And we're sharing what's going on. Hey, we're getting some new equipment. This is what we're getting in, and we'll just kind of spend some time together. I would encourage that. I think that from a cultural standpoint, if you're not doing an open book thing, that you're at least spending some time with these guys. If you're cooking freaking barbecue, once a month or once a quarter or whatever it is, it's just something that you guys can count on to spend time together, because the reality of it is what we do sucks. It's not sexy.
It's hard,
right?
man.
I was just thinking that today.
Yeah. I mean, what we do sucks, and it's not sexy. And sometimes we all just need to just stop down with each other for a couple hours and probably talk about how much it sucks with each other.
How do you
talk about our feelings together?
Sure.
How do you,
important.
how do you handle compensation for those periods of time? You just have a set hourly wage for
Yeah.
like any
Yeah, our
time
guys
they're
are paid
not
hourly.
on revenue generation, or
Our guys are
got-
paid hourly.
okay.
We don't do pay for P for P. We are going to experiment with it this year. Obviously, I'm listening to what you guys say with your input. I know you guys have found it incredibly valuable. I am going to experiment with it. I've been resistant to it, honestly. I've been stubborn to it, and it's a fault of mine, right? Full disclosure, I'm humble enough to say in front of the 6 of you guys or the 5 of you guys and the rest of the world that might be listening right now. I haven't really been bought in, but I will also say I'm bought in with you guys, right? I believe in what you're doing and you believe in what you're doing. So I'm at least humble enough to say, maybe I don't have it all figured out. Maybe there is a better way. And, we're going to look at doing that. But yeah, Sean, to your point, in the meantime, these guys they're clocking in and they're getting paid. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think any of us have it figured out, to be honest. We
Yeah,
can
that's a
all-
good point. That's a good
we
point.
are
None of us do.
all- yeah, we are all at some different point in that. I don't think anyone has it all put together. So I'm
Yeah.
right there with you.
Yeah. I mean,
I think-
go ahead, Jake.
I was just gonna say, I think when you think that you have it figured out, that's when you're really in trouble, right?
Boom.
Yeah.
Because when you don't think you have it figured out, you're constantly trying to improve. But when you think you have it figured out, you stop improving. And when you stop improving, you start dying. But Sean, I was just going to say that the other thing I think not to forget is just, if you're not out there working with the guys on those hot days, I know for my guys, I just try to do just a little something that's going to help brighten their day or help them get through that day. Because I don't know if you guys are the same way, but, sometimes you're rushing out the door and maybe you forgot to grab that extra water bottle, because it's going to be 100 degrees that day, or you forgot your energy drink that you normally bring that day. And so, those are just little things that I try to, throw in there every once in a while. I don't do it regularly so that they don't come to like expect it, but I just pepper it in randomly. And then the other thing I do too is I'll randomly, if I notice their gloves are starting to get holes in them and stuff, I'll buy them a new pair of gloves because, for somebody who's not making a ton of money, on an hourly wage job, I think it's really tough for them to, spend money on things like gloves or,
uniforms.
Yeah, stuff
Yeah.
like that,
Nice uniforms.
yeah. So
Yeah, I'll even tell you, I took one of my guys to that Mike Andes deal, and he's on fire since being there. Like, first of
Yeah.
all, he's never even been on a plane before,
Uh-huh.
right? And so,
That's awesome, man. I
here
love
he
it.
is. He's on the plane for this first time. He's on he's a guy in his 20s on a business.
He's made
trip
it. He's
for
just
a
made it,
landscaping
man.
company.
Yeah.
Right? For we cut grass. You're on a business trip, right?
Yes.
Like, he calls me all the time. It's like, what else can we get done? Or he has new ideas. You want to talk about morale booster. I'm not telling everybody to put somebody on a plane and take them somewhere, but look, I got my wife had designed some new hoodies for us with just with Peaceful Lawn swag on it. These guys was like, they were so happy about it, right? Like
Yeah.
it was just some hoodies. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
$40 hoodies.
How far you guys go on uniforms? So, for us, we give everybody basically a week's worth set of polos, and then we've got one hoodie that goes out to everybody. We're gonna be adding hats this year. We're also getting as far as like, well, I'll circle back on the water bottles in a minute, but just uniforms. Like, so I expect them to show up in work pants every day, along with the polo, and then in cold season have the hoodie. You guys provide pants? Do you expect them
Yeah.
to buy their own pants, or where's
Nice
the
pants, too.
line drawn?
I get nice pants. Pranas. Because in my opinion, and I've been in this for a while, if you're not getting nice pants, then you might, if you're very lucky, get a season out of them. And you're spending, on like a semi decent pair of pants, 30, $40. I'm on season 2 or so, with some Pranas, and never pay full price for Pranas. That's rule number 1. You can always find them cheaper. I have gone through so many thickets of just thorns and broken branches and all kinds of anything, and they're amazing pants. And I know it sounds crazy, but like, yeah, we're putting out 5 pair of Pranas. Going back on the incentives, like a time-based incentive, like if you're here for X amount of time, I'm throwing in those Cujos. I love them personally. And like, you got to spend a lot of time, but I'll get you some Red Wings too. Some nice insulated Red Wings for the winter.
I think that's a neat way to do it. It kind of like if you hit certain
Tier
milestones.
based. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say something real quick, Gerhard, because I know you love talking about this stuff, because we talk about it all the time. But I'm all for providing your employee with as much as possible, because at the end of the day, they're going to be representing your company, right? And keeping them clean is important. And we know this job is dirty, and sometimes the folks that we hire on don't have the same eye that we may have personally as to what clean is, right? They may say, well, we're doing a dirty job anyway, so what's wrong with the stain that I have on from 5 days ago? So I'm all for, providing them with as much as possible. To Gerhard's point, his vision and opinion and Piranhas and how it performs, he holds it at a certain, level. But for you, that could be a different brand. So whatever you feel comfortable with.
Yeah. I'm not
run
saying
with
go
it.
with Pranas. I'm just saying that personally, I've experienced that Pranas are just there's so much more lifetime value. I mean, yeah, they're more upfront. I mean, it's like buying an electric mower, it's
Hey,
expensive.
Steven,
Gerhard's-
we
he's
need to
flexing
contact
again.
Piranha. We need to contact Toro.
Yeah, we need
Mean
the
Green
sponsorship.
Sustainable over here.
Yeah.
I think he's got
Look
his
at-
got his own sponsorships going
right.
on
He's
the
like,
side.
somebody got a backdoor deal. Look at
I
this.
told y'all,
You heard
man.
that, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to get with
y'all.
Vortec next.
He
Gerhard,
look
now
like
he's- he's
You don't even
talking
Mr.
know what's
Emerald
coming
City.
down the line.
Yeah, he's talking about investments and
I just
property.
want to know if I
Yeah.
gotta
That's what I'm
buy
like.
people pants or not, and he's
Right.
Yes,
diving in on
yes, the
specific
answer is
brands.
yes. Even if it's like cheap pants, yes.
Name
cheap,
dropping.
get your people some pants. I mean, every place that I've worked that I felt professional and I felt that I was paid professionally in this entry level position, I got pants.
Told you he's flexing, man.
Yeah, for
Gerhard
real.
buys his guys Teslas.
Yeah, right.
Like his
Look,
employees drive Teslas.
Man,
If
that's
you last
impressive.
it 1 month at this company, you get a Tesla.
yep, that's
Man.
it. Everybody gets a Tesla.
Make it
I'm
make it
trying
3
to get-
months. We'll upgrade you to plaid.
Listen,
I'm
listen,
man.
Sean.
talking to Planet Fitness now to get memberships for people. But I mean, I get it. Who wants to do that after working a hard day? But you know what?
Yeah.
It's winter time. You stay with me over the winter. I'll hook you up with some Planet Fitness.
I can
Yeah,
promise
look-
you, my
look,
guys
Sean.
are not going to Planet Fitness.
Yeah, Sean,
Right.
to your point, and to answer your question more directly, I listened to to another podcaster. He's in the hardscaping side, and he does the same thing. He offers them, a certain dollar amount that they can spend on an annual basis to get themselves a fresh new pair of steel-toed boots, because they go through them like water, and they're able to buy their company merchandise too. So he just incentivize them that way. Hey, you pick what you want to wear this year, but this is your choice, and this is the amount of dollars you can spend on it. Let me know what you want, and we'll place the order. You can make it that simple, or just say, hey, here is your season's worth of equipment for this year.
Yeah.
Let me know if
Yeah,
anything
and-
breaks.
We do that at
also-
the fire department. Like you get a voucher.
Yeah,
Like, you
exactly,
get,
like a voucher.
certain
There you
amount,
go.
like these $300 for uniforms and stuff for the year or whatever, for boots or whatever. But You know, you can maybe roll over a few dollars every year. Now that's to me, that seems complicated to think about, but you know, maybe, you know, when they get started, one of the things they do when my guys get first started, I just hand them $100 bill and tell them these are the type of pants that I expect you to wear, and then these are shoes you should have, and go get them. I'm not buying no other grown man his own pants. He got to do that himself.
Yeah. Which leads me to my next question, and then I guess we can wrap up. We've been at it for quite a while. What happens when your guys don't wear their uniform?
Oh, this is I was going to say
SOPs, baby.
I
SOPs.
thought you were going to
go
say
home.
something else.
Exactly.
Yes, that number one. I thought you were going to say
but he didn't say that.
when they're done working for you. So the company I worked for previously,
But he didn't say that.
Yeah,
yeah,
he's
yeah,
still going. He's still
He
going.
didn't say that.
You hear him, right? He's still
It
going.
does
Like-
it does address this. You know, like what do you do when you're done working for
priorities.
you?
That's a good question, though.
What they did was they made you come in and turn in your uniforms, and you got your paycheck.
Yeah.
So you got your last
That may
paycheck
not be
in
legal in
person.
every state, FYI. So
Yeah. Check
So-
your legal.
we are not giving you any sort of
your
advice.
legal-
Figure it
yeah.
out.
Yeah, no. I don't even know if it's legal for them to do it, but
I haven't.
I'm just
I
saying
haven't
that's
been
the way they
officially
did it.
sued yet in Maryland for that, but that's
Yeah.
our
No,
policy.
I think-
you
I
gotta bring
think
our
you
shit
can't.
back.
There's a lot of those things you can't do anymore. You can't hold people's checks back just because they didn't give you a shitty pair of pants back.
So I think
I
the way
do.
that they
I
did
do.
it was they
I
didn't
dock
hold
'em.
it back.
I
It's
dock
just-
'em a
it was
full
just
day.
Hey, you can
paper.
dock and pay. That's different. That's
I
different.
dock them a full day. So
Yeah.
hey, let me reel this
Dock
back
'em the
in
amount of
right
that
quick.
paycheck.
I'd be remiss. I would be remiss if I didn't ask Sandy about your business.
Oh, I thought you were just leaving the
relocation,
best
got
for
things
last.
Going. I am saving the best for last. What's bothering you about your business? I know we've covered a lot of things, man.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
sorry.
gonna
We're out of
keep it-
time. We got.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm gonna keep it super
Pom-pom.
simple. Well, most of you guys know already that I'm restarting my business here in the Tampa Bay area. So, for me, right now, the biggest thing that's bothering me is overthinking and over planning. Super straightforward. And it's funny because
Even though I
Gerhard and I
tell
were
you
talking
every
about
day.
this. Yeah, we're talking about this in detail, and I'm literally overthinking the process. Right. Oh, I need my website to be 100% done. Oh, I need that to be done in order for me to print marketing material.
Yeah.
So it's really slowing me down in my process of getting out there and gaining more clients. So right now, a lot of the stuff I'm getting is more organic. So hey, this person says, hey, I use this person, and then they'll reach out to me. So my client base is really small right now, and that's because I'm overthinking things, or I'm
Yeah.
literally choking myself out because of it, because I'm putting these false notions, like you mentioned earlier, that I'm deeming that the website is more important than me actually getting out there and working, even though it does and it will generate revenue. So it's one of those things. I just think the biggest thing right now is just the overthinking. Equipment, we all have those issues to deal with and walk through. I mean, right now I'm going to work with what I have, but I think the biggest deterrent right now is the overthinking of everything.
So I think you got to go back to basics and just you know,
Exactly. Yeah.
You've got all the knowledge of everything that you did wrong the first time around. Like, no, I don't mean any offense by that, but like we all fuck up
taken,
everything
bud.
the first time around, right?
Right.
And so
No,
you've got
and
all
that's
the
the thing.
knowledge
Failing, you're not
of
growing.
what
Exactly.
to do better. And so just go back to basics, start over, but with all that knowledge that you've built up on how to attack a new territory, man. I mean,
Yeah, and that's why I quickly figured out that the issue is me stopping myself and creating excuses that don't really exist. And that's why I'm glad that we've got this group, because I can, bounce. You guys can keep me in check. I'm like, dude, you already know this. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're only hurting yourself. Like, just get out there and do it. I mean, that's exactly what Gerhard told me today. And it's like, you've got a good point. I don't have to wait for all these things to fall in line. I could just go out there and work.
Yeah.
Yo, this is me. Like this has been me like my whole life, right? Like I want everything to be perfect before I
Exactly.
go.
Right. That's a big issue.
But there's a concept called the minimal viable solution, or minimal viable product, MVP, that they do a lot, right? And you know who really gave me permission? Like you really think about it, you're like, okay, yeah, if this guy is this the way this guy does it, like we should all be in line.
You
And
talking
that's
about me?
That's no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But I love the way you jump and build your parachute on the way down. Right. That's something I admire the hell out of about you. But it's Elon Musk, right?
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Elon is he's always in an iterative process, right? It's what's the most important thing first, and then we build upon it. And you don't know what to change until you put stuff out there to get slapped around and beat up on, right? You
Mhm.
don't know how to counter punch
Mhm.
until you get punched, right? And the counter punchers are the greatest fighters in the game,
Yeah.
right? And so, I've learned from him that minimal viable solution is the way to go. So, like, y'all saw my website for the last, couple years. It wasn't even, there was no menu.
Yeah,
was
but
a
it was the
logo.
sexiest thing alive, though.
It was as simple as can be. It was a logo and a request button and a statement, because that's all they really need to know about you, right? And then now, I got Lawn Pro Marketing building out, the real gym or whatnot. But like my minimal viable solution was working, right?
Yeah.
And then the same thing with marketing. Like you hear a lot of people say, oh, door hangers don't work anymore. Man, we're knocking door hangers out the park right now.
Bullshit.
Door
hangers work, man.
Yeah. I mean, we're knocking it out of the park. And so, I'm seeing more traffic to my website. I think people are just Googling our name because they're seeing our postcards.
Yep.
Those A-frame signs.
It's all about cadence. It's all about the cadence, man.
Yeah, just keep it simple. Get that minimal viable solution, right? And then iterate from there. If you don't feel like it's all complete, then don't sweat it. Just go with what you got.
Yeah.
And then make that minimal viable solution as simple and as sweet as possible and as effective as possible. Think about first principles, right? A website, all I need is who I am, what I do, and then how to get in touch with me. That's it.
Mhm.
That's why the first one worked so well. Right? When I'm out working, I just need you to recognize who we are when you see people working, right? So the A-frame signs, because I waited on those A-frame signs a whole year because I kept waiting on my wrap. I didn't want anything on it because I wanted my perfect wrap to be done.
Yeah.
Right? And it still ain't done.
Yeah.
So the minimal viable solution to that is, one, we finally got uniforms with our name on it. But then I was like, well, people can't really see that from the street. And then, but they still see it if they start seeing it over and over. Right. And then the next thing was, let's put these A-frame signs in everybody's way in traffic. It's not all peaceful, but they can at least see the name peaceful on there. Right.
Mhm.
And so minimal viable solution, and then give yourself permission to be iterative, right? Simple, and then go back and fix, and just keep building up from there. But the most important part, as we talked about earlier, is getting customers.
Yeah. Shoot
Right.
first, aim later.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll jump in here real quick, Sandy. There's a lot of things I admire about you because you do things right, like from day one, from what I've seen, and like your social media game is killer. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think right now, like, my business is quite a bit bigger than yours, but I feel like you're doing things like a big business would be doing. So that's really admirable. But in your own words, it's also kind of holding you back a little bit.
Yep,
So,
100%.
But the thing is, you have a full-time job, right? And a good paying full-time job at that, you know what I mean? So in your own words, you're trying to get the boat closer to the dock with, Turf Pros to, want to or need to switch over. So I would say, if you are trying to, light a fire under your ass, so to speak, you got to find what is your sense of urgency, because it's not really financial, unless I'm wrong there.
No, you're
But-
you're 100% right.
You know what I mean? So what is your sense, or what is your motivation to get that, 20th customer, get that 50th customer, get that 100th customer, and go. So I don't know. Do you know what to put you on the spot, what that urgency could be for you?
I mean, I think about this all the time, and personally, it's the actual work and the I guess the best way I could explain it is the actual feeling of owning something that you have built, whether it's small, big, medium, large, whatever the case is. So I think that sense of ownership for me is the bigger driver. But to the point we were joking about earlier too, is that financial, of course, is important as well because I've got to be able to maintain and take care of my family, right? But I think overall, I like the work, and I like the idea and the process of building something and making it work and continuing to find ways to, whether it's make more money or add additional clients. So I like the entire process from start to finish. That's my driver. And then of course I know that the money will come no matter what, right? Well, if I do things right and I know my numbers. But so I think the big thing for me, or the big driver, is the actual process. So how do I get from point A to point B and so on? Because like I said, the finances will come up and they line up if I start to do things right and I continue to do things the right way. I know that the money will follow.
Sandy, can I
Heck
say
yeah.
something? This helped me a whole lot because I'm in your same boat, right? Like I don't need the money from the mowing, right? I'm not one of those people. I tell people this all the time. I admit it. I'm not one of those people that if I don't go out there and get these lawns mowed, that my children go hungry, right? But one of the things my coach said to me that really helped me a lot, which also gave me permission to kind of move forward and then open up what I'm able to do, is he told me to stop thinking like an owner operator and start thinking like an owner investor. Right?
Yeah.
You are a business developer, and that's what you love. And I love that part of it too. I love coming up with fresh ideas. I love coming up with something that nobody's ever heard before. I love coming up with a process for people to really enjoy. And the problem was when I'm out in the field doing the work, I was getting in the way of that business development. Right? I wasn't like, I do love to work with my hands. I love to get out and get in the dirt. I love to garden. That's something I really enjoy to do, but it was getting in the way of me doing the thing that I think I loved even more, and that's building the business.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's my motivation behind, bringing people in, creating systems to build this thing. And for me to finally get in my way and then like hire people and start giving people more responsibility, even though I know they're going to mess up, and they do mess up all the time. Stuff come up missing all the time. Right. But that clicked for me, that thinking like an owner investor as opposed to an owner operator in your particular position. I'm not telling everybody needs to do this, because you got to get out there and get the work in and pay your bills. And if you need that money to feed your family, you get your tail out there and get it done. But for some of us who don't necessarily have to have it to survive, we're in a different position than others, and we should probably take our mindset. If you want to build something, unless you're trying to build a part-time job, but if you're looking to build a business, think that thought process really helped me out a whole bunch.
Yeah, I wrote it down. I'm gonna frame this thing, man. I'm telling you, I'm gonna print it out.
Yeah, you got me questioning you guys. I'm like, why in the hell would you want to do this?
Oh man,
I kid.
mean,
I mean, we do it because we love it. We're passionate about it. But and that's what's inspiring about you guys. I know Jamar, you're a firefighter, and Sandy, you work full time. I think the other four of us here are doing this full time, and this is what feeds our families and puts food on the table. And how inspiring it is, that you guys that do have another source of income, that you got that sense of passion, and that's a motivating thing for us too. It helps remind me as a business owner, why I got into this in the first place. I didn't need the money to get into this in the first place. I didn't do it out of desperation. Now I have to continue to do it, because I got mouths to feed. But with what you guys are doing and where you're at with your business, it's kind of like, it's a little bit of a reminder to me it reminds me, why I got into doing this in the first place. And I love where you guys are at with your business. It's very inspiring. Good stuff, Jamar. Good stuff, everybody.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sean.
There's a quote that I kind of want to take this out on. I think really hit on by Sandy, and it's from Reid Hoffman from LinkedIn. If you're not embarrassed by your first version of your product, you've launched too late. One of my family members always talks about kind of like the black box syndrome, right? Like what you want, where you are now, and what you want your output to be, but everything goes into this black box, and it gets all jumbled around, and it gets confused. And how do you get to that end point? Like, you just got to start shipping product. You just got to start getting out there and push, and just take feedback from customers as you go, and just continually modify it and make it better.
Yeah, and to that point earlier, and what Jamar said, I mean, let Elon Musk be an example of that, right? Just being an absolute trailblazer. I mean, this guy, and he doesn't care. I mean, he's not afraid to try anything. And there's so many people will question his methods, and they're like, "Why would you do it?" But he's just full throttle. He's like, "I'm gonna do this shit, and if it fails, it fails, and I'm gonna find a way to make it work." And that's obviously why he will be, one of the most influential people in the last, century that I can think of. So fascinating stuff.
Fail fast, adapt, and try again.
Yeah, 100%, man. Well, listen, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. Thanks so much for your time. This was incredibly motivating. I hope it was inspiring for each and every one of you. I know we haven't solved the world's problems, but we're certainly headed in the right direction, and we'll see everybody next week.
Heck yeah.
Cheers, y'all.